Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, and today I want to talk about Crimson Desert. For those of you guys that don't necessarily follow all the news, then this week it was G-Star over in Korea. G-Star is basically a Korean game show, and during that, Pearl Abyss, the company behind Black Desert Online, announced 4 brand new IP. There was Plan 8, which is like a MMO exosuit shooter. You have Shadow Arena, which is kind of like PvE, PvP, Battle Royale kind of thing in a fantasy setting. You have DokeV, which is another MMO, which is more sort of aimed at kids. It's basically like Pokemon, cool visual style, everything like that. And you then have Crimson Desert, which is what I want to talk about today, because this is, admittedly, right now, all we've had is this somewhat cinematic trailer. Obviously, some of the elements from this are in-engine, so it is, of course, you know, believable visuals, but we haven't actually sort of seen a cohesive gameplay segment to sort of illustrate exactly how the game plays. But there's still some rather interesting information around this game, and I want to kind of go over that because if any of you guys maybe in the past played Black Desert Online, I know I spoke about it recently in a video, and while Black Desert doesn't necessarily always have the best reputation, it is of course very heavily monetized. There's a lot of kind of pay to win, pay for convenience stuff, which does of course bring the game down. Pair that with sort of a heavily grindy experience. I think anybody that has played Black Desert Online can't argue that visually the game is incredible. It also has a very, very awesome combat system, so there's definitely some cool elements in that. And Crimson Desert is, I want to say, loosely related. It is not actually a prequel, but it is set in the same universe. It's set long before Black Desert, so that's kind of where people initially thought it was a prequel, but they have since confirmed that it's not. So while the names are similar, they are ultimately independent titles. Basically, Crimson Desert is an open world MMORPG. It's the next-gen flagship from Pearl Abyss. This is like their next big title. They did, of course, announce 4, new games, but this is like their big flagship title. Now, the idea behind this one is it's going to be much more narratively driven, much more storytelling driven. If you've played Black Desert Online, you will know, of course, it's, very, very grindy. There's a lot of kind of PvP in it, and it heavily lacks any kind of really meaty PvE content. Good things like dungeons and raids and the kind of stuff you want to play, or at least the kind of stuff that I personally want to play in MMOs. I think that's a lot of kind of the draw for a lot of people. If you go into MMOs, yeah, sure, you might play it for the PvP angle, but I think a lot of people play it for that typical endgame grind. You go into an MMO, you grind to endgame, you go through your dungeons, you do your raids. That's sort of the draw for those types of games. So that is something Black Desert Online has for a long time lacked. And that is, while not expressly stated, kind of implied the sort of stuff we'll be getting in Crimson Desert. So let's kind of dial it back for a second and talk a little bit more about it. What exactly is this game? Well, to draw a few quotes from the official livestream, one of the first things they said is that there is a vast amount of content around, quote-unquote, more traditional MMORPG formats. Now, if you read between the lines, that is clearly, inferring things like dungeons and raids and quests. Now, this is rather interesting because there will be sort of like a single player or a multiplayer component to this game. There's a heavy focus on storytelling. There's supposed to be engaging quests, a fleshed out narrative, and you experience the story through 5 unique playable mercenaries. Now, obviously, these different mercenaries will play differently. We haven't really seen too much about that. They haven't fleshed it out too much. There are, of course, questions I have around that. For example, is it going to be one of those things, if I play multiplayer, do we all have to play a different mercenary? Like, if there's a tank mercenary and, like, a mage, can we have 2 tanks? Can we have 2 mages? Like, how are they going to limit you? Is it, for the purpose of the story, going to force you into, say, if you play some of those hero games where you have to play those different characters, is it going to kind of lock you in like that? Where, sometimes that kind of works out quite well, sometimes it doesn't. Either way, that is, of course, a question I have. But the aim for the game is to tell the story through these 5 unique playable mercenaries. And again, the emphasis here is really on the narrative. They really want to kind of tell a compelling story through engaging quests, and of course the combat system they are famed for. It does, of course, say, another quote from the stream is that to survive bigger threats, you must learn to make strategic choices all brought to life through Pearl Abyss's unique action-driven combat system. Now, I said before, if you look back to Black Desert Online, that is one of the things that you can't argue is really good in Black Desert. Black Desert might not be the gold standard for MMOs, but it does have incredibly fun combat. And whether they use that same system, whether they use like an improved system, the point is, if you have a game like this that is much more PvE focused, much more kind of, traditional MMORPG, and it has that engaging combat, that's going to be a really cool experience. So that is something that I am for sure looking forward to checking out. They did, of course, also say, for those of you guys that do like PvP, they said, as many of you will know, your biggest friend and foe in an MMORPG is often the player right beside you. So that does, of course, hint that there will still be PvP elements in the game. They're, of course, going to, try and give you everything you can get in an MMO, but just keep in mind, this is still designed to have that much more fleshed out PvE experience. They also said in true Polar Abyss fashion, we've created a world full of playable content, including trade, exploration, and so much more. So that of course likely hints at, that traditional sort of life skill system, all those ambient activities that you can do in between questing, in between leveling, when you're waiting for your friends to get home from work, the kind of stuff you can just do to keep you busy. Now, of course, at this stage, there's no release date. There's supposed to be a beta next year, and it's said to be coming to both console and PC. Whether that will be simultaneously, whether there'll be crossplay, all those are questions we do not have answers for, but regardless, it does sound pretty interesting. Now, again, bear in mind, it is a Korean MMO, and if you guys have played enough Korean MMOs, you will kind of know there does have this tendency to be pay to win, pay for convenience elements in there, and, that is the sort of thing that might end up working its way into this game. But right now, we don't know that. We don't know exactly kind of the direction they're going to be going. We don't know sort of, what they want to get from this. But I think even if you strip that back, it's kind of like I said in the recent video for Black Desert Online, while yes, there is a lot of that stuff, if you are jumping in for the first time, there is still an element of the game, aspects of the game you can enjoy irrespective of that. So if they're really just trying to tell a compelling narrative here, they're trying to sort of tell a really cool story, even if maybe you don't play it for the conventional MMO time frame where you're going to sink like hundreds and thousands of hours into it, even if you can kind of sort of jump in and treat it more like a story game, like The Witcher or Tomb Raider or one of those kind of cinematic exploration games with a cool campaign, that could be kind of cool. It might be one of those ones where you just sort of jump in, play it for like 60, 80, maybe 100 hours, get some like a really cool story out of it, enjoy the fancy combat, and then maybe you peace out. That could be an option. But either way, it does sound pretty interesting. I am definitely one of the people that, anytime there's a new MMO, I just love that genre, right? I don't get to play them as much these days because they are heavily time consuming, but regardless, I still watch and look out for a lot of them because it is a genre that I just love diving into. So if there is a new one that comes out and it's, next gen, it's cinematic, there's some really cool combat in it, you can bet for sure I'm going to dive in and check it out. Anyway, that's it for the time being. That's all we have on Crimson Desert. For those of you guys that didn't actually catch it, I will leave the trailer at the end so you guys can actually watch it because it is pretty cool. I'll leave you with some sort of, sound and whatnot so you can enjoy it in its full glory. But either way, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Let me know if this is something you would be keen to know more about. And of course, stay tuned because as and when we do hear more, I will keep you guys up to date.
Only those who lived through the hunger, cold, and dangers of the wilderness may find a home in these lands. Call it the pride of a northerner. They came with their manners, rules, and ranks. I couldn't care less about the ways of you lowlanders.
At least the lands are still...
Up north, we have our own way of doing things.
Maybe he's to blame, maybe he ain't.
Young master, the lands here are cold and barren.
You can starve to death for all I care.
The north is full of dangers, whether you're a prince or a peasant. Whether man or beast, only the strong will survive.
Who cares if we die? How'd the lowlanders take over an empire?
Look at us. Beaten, shamed, and hunted.
Macduff! Eli!
Can you hear a word I said? You nearly died out there.
Macduff, you are our leader. Go away!
I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also click on the little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget, you can check out 269 and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.